the truth is that anti-Semitism works. And every time you see the rise of it, you know it's because something's going on with money. It's money markets. Now, that nobody ever says that anti-Semitism is a tool of empire that helps divide people, and specifically ethnic populations. But the fact of it is that empire, royal blue bloods, you know, the people who are the real 1%, let's stop bullshitting everybody, the people who have the divine right of kings, they own the stock markets, and you know, they specifically, the only way they would let the Jews of Europe live was to make them their bankers and their middlemen. So every time they're about to get caught, they throw the Jews, they throw anti-Semitism, it's live meat for the dogs in the street, and they throw it to people, and it works every time. They're like, we're the middleman. The middleman is the one who's, because they're just fucking idiots, and it works. It's an MK mind control program of the 1%, and you know, it works. And the banks and all of capitalism is the City of London and the Vatican City, and Wall Street, where the decisions of, you know, what population they're going to enslave and rob and possess, wherever that's going to go. They do that with, you know, manipulation of currencies. So it's happening here now in the United States too, and it was in the EU. It's just like, this is currency wars. That's really what it's about.
Do you think that when people are in tough economic times in a global recession, that those on the bottom of the ladder get more provincial, more tribal anyway, and that we see a rise in anti-Semitism, but we also see a rise of anti-Christian persecution in the Muslim world, anti-Muslim persecution in the Christian world, and that generally when times get tough, people become more dickish against those who are different?
I think people are programmed, and I think that the three programs that empire uses, because it does exploit ethnic diversity and goes and sells both sides of every ethnic problem weapons, because that makes the stock market go up, because weapons, drugs, slavery, that's how the stock market works. So there's a real banking system, and ever since the Middle Ages, it uses, in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of people who really do study anti-Semitism as a device and a tactic, it uses Jewish lives as its collateral damage. And I want that known, because I'm sick of hearing the bullshit. And you know, the bullshit that is foisted on people by MK Ultra mind control programs that exploit and use code words in order to manufacture not only consent, as Noam Chomsky says, but to manufacture dissent too. They control their own opposition too. It's just fucking empire.
Well, what you're
It's
saying
just
here
empire.
too is the idea of the Jews being the middleman is something that's never talked about on any kind of show.
Right.
Because if they're the middleman, how are they controlling everything? I mean, and that is just a whole different like breakdown of power. Because there is this perception in amongst the public, who are not Jews,
and
some Jews,
because that Jewish Voice for Peace, they're walking the line too. They're buying and trading all of that anti-Semitic empire tactic too. But a lot of Jews do.
This sense that they're in control, that they have the power, that they control the media, that they control the upper echelon. So how, I mean, break it down. Who, if
I will break it down. I'll break it down like this: Jews work for royalty who does not work. Period. That's it. And I mean,
We all do, sort of.
well, we all do. The United States still is, you know, a colony of the city of London.
Well, let's talk about, what is your definition of anti-Semitism? How do you see it?
Well, I think it's huge, and I think it needs a lot more conversation to so everybody can be on the same page, so that nobody can anymore use the politics of division to come in there and say, yeah, but the Arabs are Semites too, so what do you really mean? And so what they're doing is like controlling the conversation through code words and saying, oh, the Arabs are Semites too, and of course they are. So we can't really mean that, and we can't really mean you're a Jew hater if you say the Jews are from the Khazars, because they're not really, you know, it's just all politics of division and also doublespeak, pure Orwellian doublespeak. And what I mean, I could, you know, it's long, but it does mean Jew hater.
Yeah.
This is the important thing that I think needs to be said. They all work for the same guys. They're all on the same side. It's bullshit. They have like maybe a 2% difference of opinion. It's all bullshit.
This is what Noam Chomsky said, and I'm saying Noam Chomsky for all the kids out there. You know, that the way to control people is to have a very, very, very narrow focus and really spirited debate within those narrow parameters. I paraphrase.
And I'm glad. It's like when you don't get any variant opinion beside the one you carry, that is not democracy, and that isn't fair, and you are disqualified from making any sort of a judgment with that kind of input. That's not the way it works. That's not the way science works either. Like, you know, everybody attacked me when, you know, Hawaii, you know, was coming up against Monsanto in a vote there. And they said, oh, that I was anti-science, because that's what they always say, anti-science. But I'm like, well, I said, well, let's find the studies then that Monsanto and the state of Hawaii did on behalf of children's health, public health. Let's find those studies and see where they vary from Monsanto studies. And you know what? We couldn't find any. You know why? Because there weren't any done. And that's how it works now. And that is the Supreme Court's fault. By voting for Citizens United, they sold our country and our government to the highest bidder. The biggest pedophile, drug addict, slave traders, you know, drug lords in the world, you can buy our government and make our laws, and they do.